You're watching this video, but your phone is within arm's reach right now. Maybe in your hand, maybe on the desk next to you, maybe face down but still close enough that you'd feel weird without it. And in the last 90 seconds, a part of your brain already wondered if something happened on a notification, a text, anything. You didn't decide to think that. It just showed up, like a twitch you never asked for. Here's what's wild. There's a good chance your phone hasn't even buzzed. Doesn't matter. Your brain felt it anyway. In 2012, a team led by psychologist Michelle Drouin found that 89% of phone users regularly feel vibrations that never happen. Phantom vibration. Your nervous system is generating fake signals from a device that isn't even doing anything, because your brain has reclassified your phone as part of your body. The same way you'd feel a missing tooth with your tongue. Your brain is checking for your phone on a loop you never installed and can't turn off. Now, this isn't a video telling you to put your phone down and take a walk. You've heard that speech. Didn't change a thing. This is about what your phone has already done to the inside of your head. Changes you didn't notice, didn't agree to, and can't undo by just being more mindful. There are 3 specific mechanisms keeping you locked in. Not vague ideas. 3 engineered systems operating inside your pocket right now. For each one, there's a countermeasure that doesn't require willpower, an app, or moving to a cabin in Montana. But first, you need to see how deep the rewiring goes, because by the end of this video, I'm going to ask you to do something. 10 minutes. And in those 10 minutes, you're going to feel, in your hands, in your chest, in the restless crawl of your own thoughts, exactly how much control you've already handed over. That feeling is the truth this video is built around. Think about this for a second. There was a version of you, maybe 8 years ago, maybe 12, who could sit in a waiting room and just sit, eyes on nothing, thoughts going wherever they wanted. That version of you could eat lunch alone without pulling out a screen, could lie in bed and stare at the ceiling and be fine with it. That person existed. They were real. And at some point, you can't name the month, they vanished. Not dramatically, not because of a conscious decision. They just got replaced by someone who reaches for a glowing rectangle the instant silence shows up. And you probably never noticed the switch because it happened in 2-second increments. One idle moment filled here, one scroll there. 1,000 tiny surrenders that looked like nothing, until the person who could sit alone with their own brain was gone. Here's what was actually happening during those moments you kept filling. Your brain has a system called the default mode network, the DMN. It switches on when you're doing nothing. No task, no input, no stimulation. And what it does in that silence is sort of extraordinary. It processes unresolved emotion, connects ideas you didn't know were related, replays and consolidates memory, builds your sense of who you are and where you're going. Dr. Marcus Rachel at Washington University has spent years mapping this network, and his work shows it's essential for self-reflection, emotional regulation, and creative thought. Every time you filled a quiet moment with your phone, you shut this network off, mid-sentence, thousands of times, for years. So when was the last time you had an idea that was actually yours? Not something you read, not a take you absorbed from someone's tweet. An original thought that surfaced because your brain had the space to produce it. If you can't remember, that's not a personal failing. That's a predictable result of never giving your default mode network more than 11 seconds of silence before drowning it in someone else's content. Your shower might be the only place your brain still gets to think freely. And honestly, some of you have already brought a waterproof phone case into that too. Your phone is not a bad tool you're using too much. It's a precision-engineered attention extraction machine designed by teams who understand the reward circuits in your brain better than you do. The problem was never your discipline. You brought a vague sense of, "I should use this less," to a fight against a system backed by billions of dollars of behavioral research. So let's crack the machine open. 3 mechanisms. The first one explains why you pick up your phone almost 100 times a day without ever consciously deciding to. In the 1950s, a psychologist named B.F. Skinner put a pigeon in a box with a button. Press the button, get food. Simple. The pigeon pressed it when it was hungry, stopped when it was full. Rational behavior. Then Skinner changed the rules. The button still gave food, but randomly. Sometimes after 1 press, sometimes after 30, sometimes after 200. No pattern, no logic. The pigeon lost its mind, pressed the button compulsively, Non-stop, long past hunger. It couldn't stop. Not because it wanted the food that badly, because it couldn't predict when the food would come, and that uncertainty fused the behavior into its nervous system like a short circuit. That pigeon is you, and the button is the pull to refresh gesture you do 40 times a day without thinking. This is called a variable ratio reinforcement schedule, the single most addiction-producing reward pattern ever documented in behavioral science. It's the engine inside every slot machine in Vegas, and it's the exact same engine running inside Instagram's feed, your email inbox, TikTok's For You page, and every notification on your phone. Sometimes you pull to refresh, and there's something good. A like, a message, a video that actually makes you laugh. Sometimes there's nothing. You never know which pull pays off. And here's the part that Wolfram Schultz's dopamine research at Cambridge nailed down. Your brain doesn't release dopamine when you get the reward. It releases dopamine in the anticipation of maybe getting it. The uncertainty itself is the drug. That moment when you pick up your phone for no reason, no notification, no purpose, you just open it and start scrolling. That's not boredom. That's a trained compulsion firing. Your brain learned that this rectangle sometimes delivers a hit of novelty or validation, and now it checks automatically, over and over, just in case this time is the time. It's the same reason you open the fridge when you're not hungry. You know nothing new appeared in the last 20 minutes. But what if that tiny irrational spark of maybe is the entire business model of every social media company on the planet? You're not weak, you're conditioned. And those two things could not be more different. So here's the first countermeasure. I call it friction architecture. The logic is dead simple. You check compulsively because the reward is frictionless, zero effort between impulse and action. The fix is deliberately inserting friction into that loop. Move every social media app off your home screen. Bury them in a folder on the third page. Kill every notification that isn't from an actual human being. Your friend texting you? Keep that. An app telling you someone you haven't spoken to in 4 years posted a story? Gone. Set your phone to grayscale in your accessibility setting. Color is a dopamine trigger, and a gray screen makes scrolling feel noticeably less compelling. Try it for 1 day and watch how much faster you put the phone down. And add a 10-second delay timer before apps open. That pause is often enough to snap the unconscious loop and let your prefrontal cortex catch up with your thumb. This handles the compulsion. The autopilot checking. If something just clicked for you, if you're already thinking about which apps to move, hit like on this video. Not for me, for you. It's a bookmark for the moment this started making sense, but there's a second mechanism running underneath it that's doing something worse than stealing your time. It's stealing something you didn't even realize you could lose. Here's the thing nobody tells you about phone addiction. Everyone talks about the hours. 4 hours of screen time, 7 hours of screen time. Like the problem is a number on a report. But the real damage isn't measured in hours. It's measured in what you lost the ability to do during those hours. And the first thing that went, before your focus, before your sleep, before your ability to watch a 2-hour movie without checking your phone, was your ability to be bored. And I know the reaction. Bored? I'm never bored. That's the whole point of having a phone. Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. Boredom feels like nothing, like dead air. Like a gap that needs filling. But inside your skull, boredom is one of the most productive states your brain can enter. When you're genuinely unstimulated, no input, no task, no screen, the default mode network fires up. That same system I talked about earlier. And in that state, your brain does the work it can't do when you're scrolling. It processes the argument you had last week. It connects 2 ideas you'd never linked before. It generates the kind of thinking that shows up later as, I just had a random idea. Except it wasn't random at all. It was your brain doing its job during the only window you gave it. Dr. Sandy Mann at the University of Central Lancashire ran experiments where one group did something boring, copying phone numbers from a directory, before a creative task. The bored group generated significantly more original ideas. Boredom isn't wasted time. It's incubation. And you've paved over every square inch of it. When was the last time you stood in line at a coffee shop and just stood there? When was the last time you sat in a parked car waiting for someone and didn't pull your phone out? When was the last time you lay in bed and let your mind drift without a screen 6 inches from your face? These aren't dramatic examples. They're the tiny in-between moments that used to be where your best thinking happened, where you figured out how to approach a problem at work, where you processed a feeling you'd been carrying for days. You gave every one of those moments away, traded them for 15-second clips of strangers, doing things you'll forget by morning. And here's where it gets personal. When you never sit with your own thoughts, you slowly lose contact with who you actually are. Your opinions start sounding like the last thread you read. Your sense of humor becomes recycled audio clips. Your goals look suspiciously like whatever the algorithm showed you that week. You're not using content. Content is using you, replacing your inner world, one empty scroll at a time. The second countermeasure is what I call sacred boredom windows, and I need you to hear how simple this is before your brain rejects it. Pick one thing you currently do with your phone: eating lunch, commuting, waiting for your coffee, sitting on the bus, and do it with nothing. No phone, no earbuds, no podcast, no book, nothing. Just you and whatever environment you're in. 15 minutes minimum, every day. The first 3 to 5 minutes will be rough. Your hands will feel wrong, fingers curling slightly, reaching for something that isn't there. You'll notice sounds you've never registered. The hum of the refrigerator, a conversation 2 tables over, the rhythm of your own breathing when nothing's competing for your ears. Your brain will invent reasons to check. None of them are real. It's withdrawal. Let it pass. After about 2 weeks of this, something shifts. Ideas start showing up uninvited. Clarity you didn't work for. A sense of yourself that feels weirdly unfamiliar because it's been buried under years of noise and you're hearing it for the first time in a long time. Okay, so variable rewards keep you checking. Boredom elimination keeps you empty. But there's one more mechanism, and this one is the reason every single attempt you've made to use your phone less collapsed within a week. I need to tell you something uncomfortable, and I almost didn't include this part because it hits close to home for me too. Everything I just walked you through, the variable rewards, the stolen boredom, that's real, but it's not the full picture. There's a reason the slot machine works harder on you in some moments than others. There's a reason certain hours your screen time spikes. And if you sat with it honestly for 30 seconds, you already know what those moments are. It's when the apartment gets quiet, when the conversation dies and the silence feels heavy, when you're lying in bed and the day felt like it didn't count, when your brain starts drifting toward the thing, the relationship you're pretending is fine, the career decision you keep postponing, the feeling you pushed down last Thursday because you didn't have the bandwidth to deal with it. That's when the phone shows up in your hand, not because you're bored, because you're about to feel something, and your brain has learned that the phone makes feelings disappear. Dr. Judson Brewer's work on habit loops at Brown University shows that the core of compulsive behavior isn't pleasure-seeking, it's discomfort avoidance. Your phone doesn't make you feel good. Pay attention next time. After 20 minutes of scrolling, do you feel happy? Energized? No, you feel nothing. And for a brain that's terrified of its own emotional weather, nothing feels like relief. The dopamine hit from scrolling isn't joy, it's anesthesia. And anesthesia is the most dangerous drug there is, because you don't even notice you're on it. I figured this out about myself in a way I wish I hadn't. I was at my nephew's basketball game, his first time starting, phone in my hand. Not because anything was happening on. I'd had a rough conversation with a client that morning, and my chest still felt tight, and I didn't want to sit in that feeling, so I scrolled. When I looked up, the quarter was over. His first bucket as a starter, and I was watching a stranger's kitchen renovation on Instagram. I can't get that back. The worst part is I didn't realize I'd missed it until he ran over looking for my reaction, and I had to fake one. That's not a screen time problem. That's an emotional avoidance problem wearing a phone-shaped disguise. So here's the third countermeasure, and it's the most important one because it goes after the root. I call it the phone audit. Every Sunday, 10 minutes. Open your screen time report. The real one, not a glance. Look at which apps ate your hours, which days spiked, and for every spike, ask one question. What was I avoiding when I picked this up? Write it down. I was anxious about Monday. I was lonely. I didn't want to think about what she said. Just name it. After 3 or 4 weeks, patterns emerge that you never would have caught. Your screen time isn't random. It maps almost perfectly onto your emotional avoidance pattern. And once you see that map, no app timer will be as powerful as that awareness. You stop fighting the symptom. you start seeing the cause. Variable rewards hijack your impulses. Friction. Architecture breaks the loop. Boredom elimination hijacks your inner world. Sacred boredom. Windows bring the space back. Emotional avoidance hijacks your growth. The phone audit shows you what you've been hiding from. 3 locks, 3 keys. This isn't a detox, it's a deprogramming. Here's what I want you to do. Not later. Not after you check your notification. Now. When this video ends, put your phone face down on a table. Set a timer for 10 minutes. And do nothing. Don't read. Don't clean. Don't use the time productively. Just sit there. With your thoughts. With whatever shows up. The first 2 minutes will feel easy. By minute 3, your hands will itch. By minute 5, your brain will start manufacturing urgency. A text you forgot. Something to look up. None of it is real. It's the machine trying to pull you back in. And if you can't make it to 10, if you can't sit alone with yourself for 10 minutes without reaching for a screen, that answer is worth more than anything I said in this video. This video was never about your phone. It was about the person you've been becoming while staring at it, and the person still in there, underneath the scroll, waiting for enough silence to come back. Here's the plan. This week, friction architecture. Move the apps, kill notifications, go grayscale. Next week, add 1 sacred boredom window per day. Week 3, start the Sunday phone audit. 1 layer per week. Your phone took years to rewire your brain. You're not undoing that in a weekend, but you start today. Part of you wants to bookmark this video and come back to it later. You recognize what that is, right? The exact avoidance loop I just spent 15 minutes breaking down. Don't let it win this one. Your phone was designed to make you forget you have a life outside of it. The 10 minutes of silence after this video will remind you. Drop a comment. How long did you last? Be honest, and if this video made something click that you weren't expecting, subscribe. I don't make content that lets you stay comfortable, and comfortable clearly wasn't getting you anywhere.